Hello, my name is Brandon Smith, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to design a copy denture using the TrueDent material from Stratasys. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the order form. So I'm going to right click on my case here, and I'm going to go down to Modify. And we're going to take a look at the way that the order is set up. So when you come in and you set your orders up, you'll want to make sure you select all the teeth on the arch of the denture that you're going to be copying. So you can see here I've got my upper denture set up. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I select gingiva, and I click on this fourth icon over to the right. So the very last icon. That tells the software that it's a copy denture. Then I need to go into the plus symbol and make sure I select my material. So I want to make sure I'm using the Stratasys TrueDent material. You can, however, also use the model material. The difference, though, is that with the TrueDent DME file or the TrueDent material file, you're going to get access to the TrueDent 3MF file. So GrabCAD uses the TrueDent 3MF file, but it will also allow you to pull in STLs and use those. So the 3MF file is typically what I would use if I'm using that, but you can also use that STL as well. So with the TrueDent material file, you can see you have both options down here under manufacturing process. If you use something like the model material that's already in the software, you would only be able to do the STL. You're also going to want to select, if you're using the TrueDent material file, the color for your base. So all those options are in here under the color. So we'll just go ahead and choose pink. And if I just left it with just the base set up, what I'm going to get for my output is a one-piece output. Now, the problem with that is because the TrueDent material requires the two separated pieces for the color mapping, I want to make sure I set it up to also do the teeth separately. So you'll see here I have anatomy selected, and I selected the very last option here. So that last option is called artificial tooth. And again, I want to make sure I set my material. So here you'll want to use the TrueDent material if you have that material file. If not, use model material. The reason that we use model material is because it's the only material that comes with 3Shape that does not have overmilling or drill compensation built into the material file. So it will not automatically apply that, which is what we want. So again, either use the model material or the TrueDent material, whichever one you have. Now, I'm not going to bridge the teeth here like I normally would with any regular denture that I'm designing. The reason for that is in the copy denture software specifically, it actually allows you the ability to bridge. I will say for the most part with the TrueDent material, you do not want to bridge it. That gives you more individualization of the teeth. But if you're concerned about longer design process and things like that, because if you are doing when you're doing the coupling mechanism, you do have to do it once for every individual tooth or bridge. So you can bypass that a little bit by bridging all the teeth together, and then you'll have a shorter design process. The only issue will be is that your denture just won't look as individualized sometimes in the where the teeth are. It depends on how the papillas look and things like that in between the teeth. So I would take it case by case. So we're going to go ahead and get into the design now. I will say one other thing that you'll want to check is up here under the scan settings, the object type where it says model. If you're going to scan this on your lab scanner, leave it set on model. If you're getting these scans from an intraoral scanner, you'll want to make sure it's set for digital impression here. So mine were model scans. So I'm going to go ahead now and select OK. And then we'll go ahead and go out and to do the design. So I'm going to right click on my case again here and go into design. Alternatively, if I wanted to, I could also hit this arrow here at the top left right under orders, and that will take me into design. Now, one of the stipulations with doing a copy denture like this is it is actually a copy. You cannot do anything else with it. So you cannot change out the teeth. You can't really do anything with the occlusion. It is literally a one-for-one copy of whatever you're bringing in. So it's a very short process, which is nice, but you just don't have the customization that you do if you were to design this as a normal case. So let's walk through the steps here. So the first thing I want to do is just get this aligned to where my occlusal plane is. So I'm going to drag this around and get it right on the teeth, right on that occlusal plane there. So that looks pretty nice. From there, I'll go ahead and select next. And now I can sculpt. So one of the things I can do here is I can actually see that I've got a wash impression in this. So if I leave it like this, you're going to be able to see the wash impression when we actually go to manufacture this. So what I'll do is I'll actually blend this in. So I like to use the smoothing tool here, and you want to be careful because if you go over the edge too much, you could round the edge in, and then in the borders it might not fit real well. So one of the things I like to do is I'll blend it, and then if it comes out, further than the denture base in those areas, then what I might do is I'll actually come in here and I'll add a little bit above where the impression was to make sure that it fits and that there's no, areas where the denture base has some concavities, which is something that I'm not a big fan of when I do my dentures, especially if all you're going to do is pumice and polish. So I'm going to go around this and try to blend in this border real well. And then, so one of the other things I can do here is if I use the add tool, I can come back in here and fill in some of this indentation down here to make it all a little bit more uniform and get rid of those concavities. And then again, I'll continue to go around it and blend in any areas where I feel like it needs to be blended. You just want to make sure that you steer clear of the border areas because those can shorten or roll in if you hit them too much. It's okay to hit them a little bit, just not a whole lot. So like I can tell here that this is probably not real accurate right here. So I'll blend that in a little bit. Fix some of that. And then I'll go back to my add tool and continue to fix any little concavities that I see. And once I fix them, if I need to, I can also go in there and blend them so that they're not lumpy. Now, once I'm happy with what my design looks like here with my wash impression being blended in, I'll go ahead and select next. This step, I need to identify the individual teeth. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my number 2 here and just walk around it and place annotations. Now, I'm placing these on the center of the occlusal tables of the posterior and then the center of the incisal edge of the anterior. Once I finish that up, then I can hit next. And now what the software is going to do is it's going to go ahead and individually segment each tooth. So because the TrueDent system, we do want individual teeth. I'm not going to bridge anything here. I'm going to go around though and edit any areas that I need to fix. So you can see here at the bottom, I have this pencil icon here. And in order to edit these, I'll just select one of them and it'll turn red. And now I can go around and redraw where I want my outline. You can see as I move around the teeth, when I get onto a different tooth, it'll kind of highlight the green, and once I left click, it will switch me over to that tooth. So I can edit that tooth itself. So I can move around each tooth and edit them as much as I need to. So once I'm happy with my outlines, then I'll go ahead and select next. What this is going to do is it's going to separate the tooth files and the base files and give me my separated files here. So now I can go in and do any editing that I need to do. So I can come in here and fix any little line angles I need to adjust, all that kind of stuff I can fix on these. Close any embrasure spaces that I don't want open, fix any gaps, things like that. Just overall get these things ready to go. And you can see I'm pretty much going in between each individual one, closing up the space, which is what you want. I'm not concerned if I overlap because, again, when we actually print these in the TrueDent material, we're not actually creating separated teeth and bases and printing them separately like most other systems. What we're actually doing is we're coming in here and we're creating the color mapping for the teeth. So I want to make sure that I get those teeth touching each other. If you see any of this going on with the gingiva coming through, that's okay. That'll get fixed here in a moment. I also will fix a lot of this kind of stuff that you're seeing here on the lingual in the denture-based step. So I'm just looking at the aesthetics of the teeth, making sure my embrasures are all closed and everything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and go next. And this will take me into my gingiva. So we have to keep in mind that we are copying this denture, but if there were little areas that we wanted to resculpt, most of the time when we copy a denture, it's a little overworn, there's, some small issues with it, we can fix those here. So if I want to resculpt the gingiva, I can do that and create some more festooning or things like that. Whatever you want to do is fine. Most of the time when we're copying a denture, it's for the tooth positions and not so much what the gingiva looks like. So usually in those instances, it's actually okay to resculpt out the gingiva and make it look nicer. Right now I'm fixing some of the issues on the lingual where the gingiva didn't quite generate properly, so I'll eliminate a lot of this. Sometimes the papillas come out a little too tall, so I can fix those issues in some areas and sculpt out that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm going to do here. And then from there, so for example here, you can see that we don't really have any gingival margin definition or anything like that. So if I wanted to, I could come in here with my sculpting tools and kind of draw in some gingival margin thickness for this case, and fill in some embrasures and things like that with the gingiva. I'm just kind of going around. If I just want to do it here in the anterior where it's going to be seen, that's fine. You can do it anywhere you want. If you mess up, it's fine. You can just undo. Going to regenerate some of my papillas here. I can also, if I want to carve in some more festooning, I can do that. So if I want to come down here and pull this in and kind of create some gingival aesthetics here. You can do really whatever you want. Is fine. However you want to do this. And then once you're done with the gingiva, you can go ahead and carve in the name. So if you want to emboss in a name here, you can. So you'll type in whatever you want here. I typically like to do mine in all caps so that the lettering is bigger. And then I use a value of -2 and a text height of 3.5. So that typically is big enough to where you can actually take and fill that in with a different color light curable composite, and then you'll end up with an area that kind of pops off of the surface of the denture. So I'll apply that in, and then that gives me my engraving in there, and then I'll take like a light cured material and go in there and fill that back in. So just make any little last minute changes here that I didn't notice maybe before. Make sure the aesthetics look good here. And one thing you got to watch for when you sculpt your own is that you're making all the gingival margins the same height. Because it is really easy to get them slightly off, and then you end up with one that's taller than the other or something like that. So making sure that those are all even is really important. So once you get it all sculpted, then you'll go next. And now we have to do our coupling mechanism. So this is going to set the size of the teeth into the base. So you want to make sure that you're setting these along the long axis of the teeth. And then you want to make sure you use the maximum coupling depth here of 3 so that you get these nice root forms in there. What this will do is it'll help when you go to nest these in GrabCAD, it'll actually give you more tooth root. So you'll actually kind of get a tooth root under the tissue kind of effect, which is really nice. So the maximum you can do is 3, so you'll go ahead and use that. And then you'll hit next. I like to set my path of insertion along the long axis of the tooth to point the roots in the right direction. And then if you get this, you can just say yes here. That's okay. It's not going to hurt anything to have those intersections because, again, we're not putting teeth in pockets. We're printing this all as one piece. So there's really no issue there. So as I do this, I'll probably get that error quite a few times, which is fine. You can also go in and edit the material file that you're using and change this coupling depth to 3 so that you don't have to change it on each one. So, and then as I go around, I'll position those, set my 3, and go. Now, if you ever get that error, it's as simple as just adjusting the coupling slightly, and then it will go through. The reason that we're getting this error on, or this message on every one, is because I did go in and pull and close the contacts, which is something that you want to do so that you don't see little gaps between the teeth. So now that's our last one. So now we need to make sure here with our glue spacer that this is at 0. We don't want any glue spacer. So we'll leave that to 0 and go ahead and hit next. This will finish out our design here. And it can take a minute or so to apply this. Right. So now that it's finished with that step, it'll save it. Um, and then we can go ahead and close out. Once we close out, if we right click, we can go to advanced and we can generate the cam output. It's going to create our STLs or our 3MF files for us. And then we can right click again, go to advanced and explore the cam, and this will take us to where all of our files are. So here's all the files it generated, and then from there we can take these into GrabCAD and start our nesting process for our denture. So that concludes the design for a copy denture with the TrueDent material. My name's Brandon Smith, and thank you for watching this video.